plague of misandry and anti-male sexism at its rawest form, simply because it has to be done. This is the final justice. The final justice movement has held firm on its position from the very beginning in regards to the connection between homosexuality and misandry, and everything we've said and declared thus far has come true to form. We have stood firm on the truth that homosexuality and the activism and legislations in place to force-feed it upon society is not about equality, but rather about anarchy. And what we have just learned is throwing this notion a skyscraper's worth of vindication and validation. Not even one day after we launched our first session of gender reality Q&A regarding lesbo-feminazis and homo-fems, who most people mistakenly call lesbians, we have just received word of the unthinkable. There has been major viral media attention circulating about a hate crime. Yes, you heard that correctly, a hate crime that was recently committed in late October 2009, somewhere around the 23rd or before, by a scantily clad, heavy-set transgender male with what seems to be hormonally induced breasts, just barely sporting a tight accentuated pink dress and parading around a major metropolitan subway system train, of which the location is currently unknown. The crime? He attacked a young preteen boy in front of his brother and his mother for heckling him and pretty much calling him out on his perverted behavior. Within an estimated 2 minutes of heckling exchange, two females who may or may not have been related to the party activated a digital camera and began recording. After approximately 3 minutes into the video duration, the pervert, reportedly either drugged or drunk, sprayed the boy in the face with pepper spray, possibly hitting his mouth, and walked out of the train as if nothing happened. The boy ended up coughing, choking, and screaming. The mother, who got hit with some of the spray, could not leave the train to go after the deranged pervert, naturally because she had to tend to her sons. Comment forums across the World Wide Web, including those on YouTube, are riddled in the majority with people posting derisive comments against the boy and his mother, concentrating more on their weight and laughing at the young boy's pain than realizing the depths at which this sick, depraved, disrespectful, poor excuse of a living organism willingly sank to. His act was despicable and unexcusable, and it was not merely a crime against children, not only against family, but also against humanity. The fact that homosexuality and homosexualism are now being indoctrinated and normalized into society by law was the chief motivation as to how brazen this attack was. The majority of the comments defending the so-called transgender man's crime are written, of course, by females, homosexuals, and homo supporters. From the level of hatred aimed toward the boisterous, yet still innocent boy, who by the way did not cuss once, compared to the amazing amount of profanity and disrespect the pervert was hurling toward not only the boy, but also his brother and his mother. It's quite crystal clear that the possibility of the young boy dying was none of their concern. Homosexuals consistently love to make their case by drawing sympathy from heterosexuals when it comes to the possibility of children being bullied for being homosexual, yet they never, ever consider the actual factual truth that all children get bullied. Whoever you are in this world, ask yourself the question, can homosexuals use this as a logical excuse to make their case for legitimacy? Why should a homosexual have the right to bully anyone they want? What excuse does a homosexual have to bully a child? This is the ultimate proof that just as homosexuals do not have any concept of the difference between children and adults in the form of general communication and everyday life, the same will indefinitely apply in the matter of their sexual activities. Even though it should be brought to to our attention that the mother should definitely have exerted some more sufficient effort in putting her son in check and exemplifying better public behavior, which obviously the man in a pink dress has demonstrated he has absolutely no training in the matter. Not to mention the fact that the mother should have stood up to confront the man as he was menacing all three of them, the possibility of an attack growing with each motion toward them. The fact remains that if it was a little girl that was attacked, or a homosexual of any age was maced by any man, it would have been considered a hate crime, and there would be major coverage of a more terrestrial level. In other words, it would have hit major television. Not to mention that if any man, straight or homosexual, were to whip out his genitals in public, or if a straight man were to sport a dress appearing far less androgynous, spread open his legs, and whip out his genitals in public, he would be immediately sent to jail, considered a pervert, and classified as a sex offender. But if the man is clearly a, quote, transgender man, which in hindsight is the same thing as the aforementioned, and if he exposes himself in public, he will not be touched, no pun intended, because law enforcement would be afraid that any action taken against said man would be considered a bias against homosexuality, which is a behavior, not a genetic trait. The idea that homosexuals and homosexualists want to project in our minds is that they can do no wrong whatsoever. So when it comes to the realities of a conflict or altercation between a homosexual and a heterosexual, because of the many homosexual protection laws that are active and set to be active in various states within the United States, including a federal bill that just recently got passed, the heterosexual involved in the conflict will in essence have no legal say in the matter whatsoever, even if the homosexual was indeed the perpetrator. Basically, this means in a nutless shell that if these laws, which will override all basic freedoms granted upon us throughout the world, are not seriously challenged and fast, the more homosexuals will have the right to legally cause bodily harm and or create uncomfortable, compromising situations on any and all heterosexual people and children, including sexual harassment, sexual assault, sexual abuse, child molestation, verbal assault, rape, violence, or even murder. Down the road, incidents like the tranny train attack will happen again and more frequently, and that innocent victims of rape by homosexual perpetrators who have contracted an STD or would suffer irreparable physical damage from any kind of an attack by a homosexual will not be able to do anything about it. Is this what you want, good people of Earth? Wake up and smell the arsenic. Homosexualists care nothing about equal rights, nothing about children, nothing about human safety, and definitely nothing about boys and men. Feminists and homo supporters care nothing about boys and men either. And judging by the way the mother handled the situation in such a lackluster manner, it doesn't seem as if she cared much for her boys either. Final Justice Movement will produce a more full detailed follow-up video on this matter within no more than at least a month's time from now. Until next time, this is the Final Justice, and I am outraged.
bitch. Say my motherfucking word. Say motherfucking word, okay? Fucking with me.